Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on Egypt's national project, the very pioneering and successful national project, A Decent Life, an initiative that actually works on changing and improving the lives of 58 million citizens living in the Egyptian countryside, developing over 4,500 villages all over the country, providing them with all the basic and necessary services a citizen would need. We're going to be focusing on this project, the phases of it, the financing of it, which actually costs over 700 billion Egyptian pounds. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel al-Sisi, who held talks with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Local Development Mahmoud Sharqawi, Minister of Interior Mahmoud Tawfiq, Minister of Health Dr. Hala Zaid, and Minister of Communications and Information Technology Amr Talat. Presidential spokesman Bassam Radi said the meeting addressed the follow-up of the executive position to establish the National Unified Emergency of Public Safety Network. The President was briefed on developments of the national network, which aims to achieve full control and cooperation among all actors to quickly contain and confront all types of emergencies, crises and disasters within a limited time. The network also supports sustainable development plans through the use of modern communication technology under a fully unified and secured network for all stakeholders in accordance with the latest global standards. The network serves as a backbone of state apparatus in the service of emergency communications, ensuring the rapid response to various reports emergencies. Meanwhile, President al-Sisi directed the continuation of the study and evaluation of all the results of the pilot experience in Bursaid to develop the best national model for providing emergency communication services to citizens through the National Unified Network. During the meeting, the head of state was also briefed on the current situation of coronavirus prevention measures and the situation of providing antivirus vaccines, whether being manufactured or imported from abroad. Also today, President Abdel al-Sisi followed up on the restructuring and development efforts of the public business companies, including Jasur al-Nasr Company for import and export. During his meeting with Premier Madbouli and Minister of Public Business Sector Hisham Tawfiq, the head of state said the company's performance represents extended bridges with the world for commercial communication and promoting products and export rates, development and enhancing the entry into new markets for the Egyptian exports, especially in the African continent. Presidential spokesman Bassam Radi said the meeting tackled the follow-up efforts to restructure and develop public sector companies to contribute effectively to the national economy and support national industry and the process of sustainable development at the state level. This target can be achieved through good management of public business and mechanization, the developing of working cadres, the rehabilitation of the human component, and the support of distinctive competencies with advanced training programs, with the usage of experience of the old advisory offices in the field of administrative, structural, and human resources systems. Minister Tawfiq presented his ministry's efforts to develop business regulations and regulatory structure for business companies under the new Act number 185 for the year 2020 on the development of work for sector companies and their administrative systems. And Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri held talks with his South Sudanese counterpart Beatrice Khalifa in Cairo on Tuesday, which tackled means to foster bilateral ties in addition to a number of regional and international issues of mutual interest. Earlier, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli presided over the first round of the joint Egyptian-South Sudanese Supreme Committee, along with South Sudanese Deputy President James Wani-Iga. Speaking at the opening session of the committee, Madbouli reiterated that Cairo is looking forward to expanding ties with Juba to the level of strategic partnership with the aim of achieving mutual interests of both parties. He said the meeting aims at strengthening cooperation, adding that a comprehensive vision is being organized for sustainable ties in all fields. These were some of the stories making the news today, but now let's turn our attention to our topic of discussion tonight. Let's check out this report regarding the Decent Life Initiative, which really ushers in a new era for Egypt's rural areas, the countryside, and the Egyptian citizens living in villages all over the country. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
President Abdel al-Sisi has honored a number of officials of the Decent Life Initiative, a national project aimed at upgrading Egypt's countryside. This came during the president's attendance of the first conference on the project on the development of rural Egyptian villages, which was held under the auspices of the president and attended by the prime minister, the ministers, and more than 15,000 citizens, as well as many public figures, media professionals, businessmen, and officials of local, regional, and international institutions at the Cairo International Stadium. A number of important participations were on the agenda of the conference to tell the story of the struggle and success of a decent life, its beginnings, and what has been going on in the various governorates so far, which has managed to highlight the Republic. In addition to many different technical and humanitarian paragraphs, during the first conference of the national project, President al-Sisi spoke about many files, most importantly, the crises of Ethiopia's dam. He reiterated that Egypt deals with all the issues with a rational mind and deep planning, assuring Ethiopians and Sudanese that Egypt is never against their prosperity. He confirmed anew that Egypt's national security is a red line. He noted that practicing wisdom and diplomacy for peace does not mean allowing the capabilities of this country to be compromised. The president asked people to have faith in the armed forces. He stressed that Egypt possesses political tools and military and economic power that enables it to protect its capabilities. The president asserted that Egypt manages its foreign relations regionally and internationally with well-established and stable principles. He also said Egypt manages its external relations regionally and internationally with firm and stable principles based on mutual respect for peace and upholding the rules of the international law.
كانت التحديات كبيرة، ولكنها أبداً لم تكن أكبر أو أقوى من إرادتنا على مواجهتها والعبور بالوطن نحو آفاق المستقبل. اقتحمنا مشكلات وأزمات اقتصادية متراكمة على مدار العقود. كان السباق مع الزمن لبناء مصر المستقبل وتعظيم قدراتها وأصولها، فكانت المشروعات القومية الكبرى رمزاً يعبر عن إرادة المصريين في البناء. ما بين مدن جديدة تتسع لكافة المصريين في كل ربوع الوطن، وإسكان اجتماعي يوفر المسكن الملائم لشبابنا، وتطوير للمناطق الخطرة وغير الآمنة للقضاء على العشوائيات، وتحديث شامل لشبكة الطرق القومية وزيادة الرقعة الزراعية، وصولاً اليوم إلى انطلاق مشروعنا الوطني الأعظم لتنمية الريف المصري حياة كريمة.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off our discussion right away, we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Ayman Abdel, the UN Environmental Affairs and Risk Management Senior Advisor. Dr. Abdel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Doctor, first of all, now Egypt has embarked on many national projects talking about all different sectors, the energy sector, tourism sector, industrial sector, building new cities, working on the infrastructure. But the Decent Life Initiative, the national project, seems to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, national project Egypt has embarked on in recent years. It directly targets changing the lives of 58 million citizens living in the countryside, which constitutes about 58% of the Egyptian population. How significant and how ambitious is such a project, and what should we really be expecting as Egyptian citizens by changing the rural countryside?
Well, this presidential initiative, you know, to visualize the magnitude of this initiative, we have to look at the components of this initiative. It's not a project, you know, some people call it a project. It's not a project, it's a multi-program initiative. Mm-hmm. It covers, it's a very complex, you know, program. It includes several programs. Mm-hmm. It covers different areas. It deals with the countryside, with its special conditions and with its limitations, especially that it has been neglected for so long. And even the projects that targeted the rural part of Egypt was focusing on just segments. Mm-hmm. And as we all know that there was a project targeting the rural side, but it was focusing on the poorest 1,000 village. And actually this criteria made the governance race in proving that they are the poorest, mm-hmm. which is not a very bright criteria. Mm-hmm. What we are dealing with is not one of the biggest, is the biggest. Mm-hmm. Is the biggest initiative all over the world. It's very complex. As you mentioned, the cost will reach 700 billion Egyptian pounds. This amount of money is going to be poured in the rural part of Egypt, and it's going to touch all aspects of life. Mm-hmm. The beauty of this initiative is the integration of the projects. It's not targeting one sector. It's not targeting, for example, the wastewater or the potable water or you name it. Mm-hmm. No, it's integrating all different aspects of life. Economical, social, environmental, and construction wise. It covers, if we look at the numbers, it covers 4,500 villages, mother villages, 28,000 satellite villages, 175 markets, and 20 governorates. So it's covering the majority of the governorates of Egypt. And if you look at the past, there was a focus on the main cities like Cairo and Alexandria. And there were many complaints from our people living in the countryside. And this created the problem of the immigration from the rural side to the big cities like Cairo and Alexandria and the capitals of some of the governorates. This initiative is going to reverse this trend. It's going to make people want to leave the big cities with its problems of traffic, noise, whatever, and go to the rural part. We don't want that to happen, but we want people in the rural side to enjoy all the services in their home governance. And actually, this initiative is providing new services that have never been provided to the rural side. Like the optical fibers is going to be provided, is going to enhance the communication sector. The internet is going to be available in all these governorates. There is improvement in the health sector, in the education. This initiative is providing intelligent educational platforms, which was never introduced to the countryside. We're talking about integration between the water and the wastewater, because previously we were focusing on providing water, but providing only water in the provincial part of Egypt created the problem of the wastewater. But now it's going hand in hand. Water and wastewater, education and health.
Yes.
Construction of decent homes. So it's a network of services. It's a network of services. And actually, when I was looking at this initiative, the Arabic term for it, Hayah Karima. If we compare it with the English term, decent life, where Hayah Karima is a whole spectrum of values. We are talking about generosity, decency, and economical, social, so many things. So I would prefer to stick with it as Hayah Karima, and even the English articles are using this term. And if we look back at our history, we will find that each century there is a mega project.
Yes.
Like in the 19th century, there was the Suez Canal. All the people were, backing up the government to excavate the Suez Canal. In the 20th century, there was the High Dam. And the 21st century, we have the Hayah Karima initiative, which is by all means the biggest development program all over the world, not in Egypt, not in the Middle East, but all over the world. And actually, it fulfills the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And the United Nations recognized this initiative and included it as one of the most significant initiatives all over the world. So this is where we are talking about a development revolution. It's huge, and the magnitude is beyond imagination.
Yes.
So for the first time, our people in the countryside are going to enjoy everything, if not more, than what we are enjoying in the big capitals.
Yes.
And actually, one more aspect of this initiative, that it's 100% Egyptian. There is no foreign intervention in this program. And actually, the citizens themselves are choosing their projects. So we are not imposing on them what they have to take. And actually, I was engaged in different development projects, financed by different, entities, financial entities like the World Bank, the USAID, but it was imposing on the country what to do, where to spend this money. But now we have the will, we have the complete freedom, and we have our people who set the priorities of what they need.
Yes.
So this is very beautiful, and also the youth are contributing in this initiatives, in the follow-up, the training, the awareness, and the medical services. And
well, Dr. Wahab, now you've mentioned how enormous such a project is, probably one of the biggest of this century, this young century. And you've mentioned all of the different sectors being involved. Now, about 4,584 villages. The first phase is about 1,000 or 1,500 villages. Now, the plan, the timetable set for this initiative to be achieved and accomplished is about 3 years. Is it too ambitious to imagine that we can change the lives of 58 million citizens in 3 years with all of the sectors you've mentioned, be it health, education, cultural, infrastructure, sanitation, social, everything? Is it too ambitious?
well, to be honest with you, it is too ambitious. Due to the complexity of these projects, due to the diverse, aspects of these projects, we're talking about all kind of development, and it's very complex. And if you do it in parallel, it increases the complexity of this project. And if we put into mind the existing conditions of the villages, you have narrow streets, you have already houses are settled on, you have the agricultural land, and you want to conserve the agricultural land, you don't want to interrupt their lives, but at the same time you want to provide all these kind of services at the same time in parallel. But if we look at our leadership, they are the role model of compacting and speeding up, and we have some examples we have witnessed already. And that's why the collaboration of all ministries, all governorates, and there is a new spirit. When you create this spirit in the people, you will see miracles. And I can see this spirit in all stakeholders of this project. So it is very ambitious, but it is doable with this spirit and with this kind of leadership we have right now.
Yes. Well, talking about the leadership and the ministries being involved now, almost all ministries are being involved in such an initiative. Does that create some sort of a healthy competition between the ministries, really each ministry wants to prove itself, wants to get all their targets achieved within the set timetable and maybe even sooner? And is there some sort of an order for the ministries on when to interfere or when to start their work within developing these villages?
Well, it's going to be a competition, but I believe it's going to be a healthy competition, because unless everybody cooperate with each other, and it's like a puzzle, if you don't put all pieces in the right places, the puzzle is not going to be completed. So these ministries have to cooperate together. They have to synchronize their efforts. And actually, there is huge teams, you know, working behind the scenes right now. And they are putting together time schedules, and they are creating critical path for these schedules. And they are prioritizing what should be done first and what should be done next and what should be done in parallel in order to reach the final goal. So we are talking about the general picture, but we did not get into the details. These details are being done right now. And these are the real heroes behind the success of these initiatives.
Yes. Dr. Abdel Wahab, you're a senior advisor for the UN Environmental Affairs and Risk Management, and you've mentioned how the UN is actually rating this initiative as one of the leading and most impressive ones right now. In your previous experience with all the developmental and environmental and risk management as well projects happening all over the world, how does the Egyptian initiative, A Decent Life, rate among them, realistically?
Are you talking about the magnitude of the complexity, or
the complexity
in what way?
of it and the magnitude? I mean, are there projects happening around the world that actually target 58 million citizens within 3 years?
No, the answer is no. This is the biggest, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the biggest program all over the world. So this is one of a kind. We are talking about one of a kind initiative, and the complexity is very complex. There is no more complex initiative than what we are dealing with. But actually, we have the expertise. We have very talented professionals in all different walks of life. The only thing that we needed is to synchronize all these efforts and pull all these talents together and create a management model that let them work in the same direction. Okay? And I believe that we have this right now. And this is going to be the secret behind the success of this initiative.
Yes.
As I mentioned, we have the spirit, we have the youth, they are contributing in this project. We have a new era, if I put it that way. And actually, Hayat Karima is going to be the icon for the new republic.
Yes.
And actually, I just imagine that maybe the name of Egypt should be changed to New Egyptian Republic, NER. Because we're talking about something very big, very big.
Yes.
Really.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Abdel Wahab has mentioned, the Decent Life Initiative, Hayat Karima, constitutes really an icon of the new republic of the 21st century. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Decent Life National Project aims to alleviate the burdens of the citizens in the poorest communities in the countryside and urban slums nationally through implementations of a set of services and development activities that would ensure a decent life for this group and improve their living conditions. Using the maximum economic and social return, it invests in the development of the Egyptian person and provide job opportunities for citizens to improve the standard of their livings and their families, which will result in the local community notifying a positive difference in their standards of living. The neediest villages were divided into 3 phases. The first phase includes villages with poverty rates of 70% or more. These need urgent intervention. The second phase is villages with ratios poverty ranging from 50% to 70%, which requires intervention but less urgently than the first group. As for the third stage, it tackles villages with poverty rates below 59% that have fewer challenges to overcome poverty. The initiative, which first mooted at one of the youth forums, is now moving ahead to be an icon of the new Republic of Egypt, becoming a national project serving the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. The initiative is an idea proposed by ambitious youth to the president during one of the youth forums. Believing in this idea and its viability, the head of state gave directives to implement the overture, which mobilizes efforts of the government and civil society to achieve development. The main objectives of the initiative is to improve the quality of life in villages through providing them with basic services, topped by clean water, electricity, sanitation and natural gas, in addition to promoting health and educational services. The initiative also included establishing governmental service complexes to facilitate offering services to citizens. Moreover, it worked on paving streets in the villages and renovating the canals used in irrigating lands. It took into consideration the importance of securing decent housing for people living in rural areas. The initiative played a pivotal role in spreading culture through developing libraries and adopting cultural programs, besides contributing to supporting orphans and poor girls.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Dr. Abdel Wahab. Now, Doctor, for such a complex and enormous magnitude for the Hayat Karima initiative, there had to be a lot of planning, and with the planning and with embarking on such a project, there will be some hurdles or obstacles or challenges to overcome. What sort of challenges should we expect to have to deal with, and challenges and obstacles to overcome within the next 3 years?
Well, with the initiative with this magnitude and this complexity, the problem is how to manage all these kind of activities, and how to put the right sequence, because some activities has to be done first, then next other activities depending on the first activities have to be implemented, and so on. So it's a kind of network, and here lies the management role. There should be a very strong management system to overlook all these kind of activities going at the same time or with several sequencing. And I believe that this is one of the core aspects that are going to be implemented to make these things work. But what I'm looking is after that, when we have this implemented, when we have all these kind of services provided to the provincial side of Egypt, what can keep them going?
Yes.
The most important thing is to embed the operation and maintenance from day one, because each project or component of project or anything, even an appliance, it have a lifetime.
Yes.
And after this lifetime is going to be obsolete. So you have to put this into consideration. You have to set aside the budget for that, to keep this kind of initiative going on and living as long as we need it for our people. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are even new services that are provided to the countryside, like the natural gas, the optic fibers, the agricultural complexes that provides, the seeds, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fertilizers to the farmers with reasonable prices. We have the governmental services complexes that provide the service and at the same place where the people live They don't have to go to the big city. They don't have to go to Cairo. All these services, they need to be maintained so that they work at the same level when they started. It's management. The secret word is management. And because we have, as Egyptians, we are very talented. We're very talented. We're excellent in all different aspects of professions. And if you go abroad, you will find Egyptians, they are in the top, yes. in the universities, in the big companies, everything. So put them in the right system, you will see miracles.
And does that also include risk management and crisis management?
Well, risk management, it has to be, there should be an assessment at the very beginning. What are the risks included in this kind of mega project? The risk, I see it in this project or this initiative, is the sustainability. You know, we were talking about yes. that it falls within the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Okay, what keeps it sustainable? This is the main risk. And this has to be taken into consideration from day one. And again, it's the maintenance, the operation, providing enough, and there should be kind of income generation within the governance itself, so that they can maintain these projects and they don't depend on the central government to provide them with the money and for operating and maintaining their. So there should be different mentality of income generation within each government to keep their projects and to keep this privilege that they got from this initiative for as long as they need it.
Yes. You've mentioned that it costs about 700 billion Egyptian pounds, all Egyptian funded, also all Egyptian personnel who will be embarking on such an initiative. Does that constitute a difficulty if you can't really make use of foreign expertise or their know-how in how to develop or upgrade a certain village, for instance? Or does it mean that now that it's our own money, our own people, we won't have to be subjected to any sort of pressure or any sort of obligations that we might have towards international companies and institutions?
Well, actually, as the government provided this amount of money, the power is in money. You know, when you get money from the World Bank, you have to abide with the rules of the World Bank.
Yes.
They will dictate on you to invest in this sector and don't invest in this sector, whether you like it or not. The same with the US aid. And you have to abide with it. You don't have any other choice. But now we have our money. We don't need any foreign, expertise, because we have the best engineers, we have the best doctors, we have the best farmer, we have the best everything, we have the best soldier, we have the best officer.
Yes.
And I'm not exaggerating. This is true, and even they know it, everywhere. What you need is how to get these people work together in a healthy environment to encourage the talented people and not depress them. So the leadership who will work as a maestro for this youth, for these managers, for all these key players, he has to be encouraging. He has to be inspiring to them, encourage the talented people and lift them up. Then you will see miracles. Because the Egyptian person, you put it anywhere, he will be the first. So provide the healthy environment, we can do everything.
Yes.
We don't lack anything. Talent, education, professionality, everything we have it.
Yes. Doctor, now, if we're working on changing 58 million lives in Egypt, And you've mentioned the Egyptian citizen and really having to transform and really embed this new culture of a culture that is driven, a culture that really appreciates and highly rates the work ethic. What was the response of the citizens of the first 1,500 villages that are already witnessing the development and the application and the implementation of the Decent Life Initiative? How do you feel the people are responding?
Well, actually, the first phase, which is the initial phase, it was targeting the poorest 1,000 villages all over the provincial part of Egypt. It's a good move, but this was not the move people looking at, because when you are talking about the poor of the poorest, then you are providing them with the minimum level of services, and you stop at that. So instead of being the poor of the poorest, they became the poorest. So you lift them just one level. But when we move to the inclusive phase, which is covering all villages, all marakis, all governorates, with all kind of services. Even we have what we call the financial inclusion. Okay, this is a new concept. You are introducing ATM machines in the countryside. You are opening accounts for craftsmen, for small projects. You are providing loans with very good terms. So all these kind of things are completely different from what we knew about development before. It's integrated. It's providing all kind of services. It's providing even new services that parallel what you have in the big cities. So this is it was very well received by people, and they are very happy.
Now, this is a national initiative, a national project. All the ministries, the government, all the public companies and institutions are participating in it. But also, is there room for the private sector to help in and chip in development? As in, does it encourage as well the private investors and the private companies seeing some sort of a potential market within all these villages, that they can actually get an early kickstart for being involved in such projects and targeting even new markets?
Absolutely. Everybody is encouraged to, there is room for everybody. The private sector, the NGOs, everybody, there is room for it, for them. And actually, this initiative is going to create temporary and permanent jobs. We are talking about tens of thousands of opportunities, both temporary during the implementation of these projects. We're talking about wastewater treatment plants. We're talking about roads. We're talking about 14,500 kilometers of roads. We're talking about 617 bridges. We're talking about 80 ferry boats to transport people from one side to the other. We're talking about upgrading 25% of schools. We're talking about educational curriculum development. We're talking about 4,000 educational, intelligent education platforms. Okay? So all these projects, somebody has to implement them. This means new jobs. This means providing for new families. This means improving the standard of living for millions of people across the country. Not only by providing the service, but providing jobs during the implementation that leads to these services. So it's very well received by people, both who are going to get a job during the implementation, and who is going to receive the service at the end of the day.
Yes. Dr. Abdel Wahab, now talking about developing all these villages, over 4,500 villages. Now, you've even mentioned earlier on in the show that it's not just the people who would be happy living in their villages and their hometowns, but also people living in the big cities might even want to migrate and go to some of these villages. Is that a realistic sort of expectation that it could be happening at some point in time? And what do you think such an initiative will change in the characteristics and the culture of the Egyptian citizen as a whole?
Well, this is very realistic because most of us, you know, we have origins from the countryside. Mm-hmm. But being in the big city and having all these kind of luxuries and services and highways and roads and, you know, entertainment places and everything, we stick with the city. But if we see that the countryside is reaching a higher level or even equal level mm-hmm. to what we are having right now, we may think of going back to our origins. Mm-hmm. Many of us have homes, have relatives, have fathers, mothers, or whatever. So, but let's not be that ambition, you know. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that, you know, it's going to keep people happy where they are, mm-hmm. and reduce, if not stopping, the immigration from the countryside to the cities. Mm-hmm. Which is going to be a very big achievement.
Yes. Well, part of the development of these villages also is developing and enhancing the small and medium enterprises and really working on the industrial sector, even on the level of SMEs within all these villages. Does that mean as well that we can see the Egyptian domestic productivity and economy really taking very much of a leap, a giant leap within the next few years? I mean, if this initiative is accomplished within 3 years, should we expect to see a giant leap in the Egyptian economy even within 6 years?
Absolutely. I think this is going to contribute tremendously in this sector, because if we look at China, for example, you know, most of the production is coming from small projects, mm-hmm. very small projects, and you know, it's like putting small things together and then you get the big picture. Mm-hmm. So small projects, medium projects, and even micro projects are going to contribute tremendously in the Egyptian economy in the very near future. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of this you know, small to medium projects, that the cycle of it is very fast. You're not talking about a huge factory that needs years to be built, and then you need some more years to get back what you invested. No, this, you can get the product within months, and you can regain the capital you invested in very few period of time. Yes. So yes, I do mm-hmm. expect that it's going to impact the economy positively in the very near future.
Doctor, you've mentioned that this is totally 100% Egyptian funded, Egyptian personnel, but you've also mentioned the recognition by the United Nations as having this being one of the biggest developmental projects, national developmental projects nationwide. Can this have some sort of an impact on other international institutions, other monetary and financial institutions, giving it some sort of a weight and maybe wanting to participate and support the Egyptian leadership and Egyptian policy, not necessarily for this initiative, but maybe for other initiatives and projects?
Well, what we are doing by this initiative is that we are building the foundation of social and economical stable life all over the country. And certainly this will encourage most monetary institutions that they would like to contribute, they would like to lend us money. And then at this point of time, we can choose and we put our own terms instead of being dictated by their regulations. We are going to see what kind of financial participation or financial cooperation from them suits our conditions, and then we will have the upper hand at that time. Yeah.
One final question, because we're running out of time. Out of all the ministries, out of all the sectors being involved in such a project, which one has impressed you the most so far?
Ministry of Planning. Because planning is has the big chunk of this. If you have the right plan, you will have the right outcome at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Abdel Wahab has mentioned, the planning aspect of it is one of the most impressive aspects, and laying down the plan work, the blueprint for such an initiative. And we do share the optimistic and ambitious view that Dr. Abdel Wahab has mentioned. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Ayman Abdel Wahab, the UN Environmental Affairs and Risk Management Senior Advisor. Dr. Abdel Wahab, always a pleasure having you with us.
It's my pleasure being with you in this program, and I'll be honored to be with you.
Thank you very
anytime.
much, sir. My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Ireland International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.